changing the marketeer's world as we live in. It's going to be interesting to see if they're more efficient and in time compared to the creative guys that were off stage a minute ago. So let me get the moderator up on stage, who's going to introduce this huge panel, and they will be all sitting here on the couch. It's going to be very warm for them, I'm quite sure. Let me get on stage the co-founder of Unbound, Mr. Quentin George.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Efficiency Summit. My name is Quentin George. I'm the co-founder and principal of Unbound. So I think few people have an appreciation for really how difficult it is to manage both efficiency and effectiveness. I think we've made great gains in doing either, but it takes a rare talent and a rare group of people to accomplish both. Luckily, for all of us, we're joined today by some of the leading practitioners in the field, so please join me in welcoming them to the stage. So the first one is Mr. Nigel Morris, the CEO Americas and EMEA of Aegis. Mr. Fred Joseph, CEO EMEA Performics. Mr. David Yovanno, President Mediaplex. Mr. Damián Lawlor, Managing Director, Media Platforms, Google. Mr. Greg Coleman, President of Criteo. And the rose amongst the thorns, Nicolle Pangis, the President of Real Media. Okay, so let's jump right in. And we'll start with you, Nigel. How does your company use technology to manage the balance between effectiveness and efficiency?
So I think the first thing to say is that technology has become a core competence of all agencies and a core competency for all agency groups as well. And one of the challenges is taking all the different kinds of business, all the different touch points, and being able to take them into a database solution that allows us to actually follow the consumer and follow that efficiency and effectiveness throughout multiple different specializations, multiple different touch points, so that we can be both effective in reaching the consumer where we want them, in the right way, wherever they are, at the right moment with the relevant point, and also efficiently in terms of the return on investment we can deliver to the client. But I think very, very importantly, when we think of our own businesses, is to actually be much more automated and much more efficient in the way that we deliver those services. So it's in multiple dimensions, and our approach very much is actually to use different technologies and build them into our own stack without necessarily owning that technology.
Right. Fred?
Yeah, I totally agree with Nigel. I actually think as managing a media agency, a digital media agency, I actually see myself as managing a technology company. I think that media agencies, specifically digital media agencies, are a technology company. We have to have this technology background to be able to have that kind of conversation with partners, technology partners, Google of this world. And so I guess the answer to your question is to make sure that we are able to select the right technology and have the right people to maneuver that technology. Because technology is important, it's critical, it's the backbone of what we have, but we do need to have the right people to maneuver that technology. So it's a question of the right balance between the two. Right.
So at Mediaplex, we take a what I consider a relatively simple four-step approach to efficiency and effectiveness. It starts with proper data collection for our clients, proper data management, how that data is actioned on, and then how things are measured and analyzed is kind of the way that I look at it. So if you do the first two right and take your time, I was talking to Quentin earlier, I said for me these days it's more about data planning as opposed to media planning. It's at least as important or possibly more important, the data planning part. So if you do the first two parts right, the way you action on that data, RTV certainly helps with efficiency because you're targeting exactly the people that you need to reach, and you cut out a lot of the waste that's in the direct buys that happen when working directly with the publisher. So we enable that. We have a DSP. We have a traditional ad serving product. And then more importantly on the analytics side, the measurement side, there's still so much more to be developed there for our industry, I feel, in terms of really taking a proper approach to understanding all the marketing events that are causing sales to happen. So we got to get past a lot of these last touch type methods and really start taking I'm sure that the term big data is going to come up in this panel, so I'll be the first to throw it out. But it truly is a big data problem, but you got to have the right people to the other point. And so I think making the big investment in the statisticians and the analysts that can really help understand the approach to proper measurement is that's everything that we're invested in as a company and helping our clients with.
So in Google, we've been working for the last 3 years on building out a unified technology stack. And we were, conceptually, we were saying this is going to help efficiency, it's going to help your marketing performance, and it's going to drive towards insight and your ability to use data to differentiate yourselves. And customers came to us and said, that's great in concept, but what's actually happening? So we realized we needed some proof points. We went out and talked to the Boston Consultancy Group. We wanted an independent view. So Boston Consultancy Group talked to 15 media buyers across Europe and asked them, okay, using a unified technology stack, do you actually see benefits? First of all, they actually had a look at the media buying process, the media planning process, and surprise, or no surprise to most people in this room, is that it's very inefficient as it stands today. We haven't got the benefits of the digital we hoped. So in a typical 20-day campaign life cycle, there's 15 days of actually handovers between the different parties. There's 5 days of work, and they characterize 4 of those days of work being on data duplication, data re-entry, checking creatives, etc. So inefficient parts that could be reduced. So then they checked, okay, using a unified platform, do you get benefits? And the really interesting thing that came out for us was that yes, 12% average productivity improvement just by using a technology that speaks to itself, but that could be increased to 33% if you made changes to your processes, if you made changes to your org, and if you started adding some of the really skilled people around data to your organization to really get the benefits of it. So that's what we've learned. And I suggest to people who want to read the Boston Consultancy Group's report, it's freely available.
So at Criteo, we live in the world of enabling e-commerce. The only thing our clients care about is return on ad spend. So in order to be able to deliver effective and efficient return on ad spend, you must make investments in technology. I'm sitting next to Damián at Google. He certainly knows a lot about the investment. But we have 800 employees, over 300 are engineers, so we're a math and science company. And in order to handle thousands of our marketing partners at scale, dealing with billions and billions of bid requests an hour, you need to have your act together with a well-organized engineering team. So R&D is the center of how we look at efficiency and being able to grow and keep our marketing partners thrilled with return on ad spend. That's what we do.
Go.
So the way we handle this is obviously we license technology, and we also run a media business over it. When we were acquired by WPP in 2007, one of the tenets, the cornerstones of that acquisition was so the agencies within WPP can help their clients become more efficient by using a single technology platform. And since that time, we've worked to create essentially an ecosystem that benefits certainly the workflows of the agencies that work in digital, but also, frankly, the publishers and the advertisers directly, because the efficiencies within the agencies help both of those parties, which I think sometimes we talk about efficiency. Yes, it's workflow, but it's also value to the publisher, because if processes are more efficient, the publisher makes more money for every dollar spent, and similarly the advertiser gets a more effective buy, to your point about efficiency versus effectiveness. The efficiency, I would say, is in the workflow. The effectiveness is the value to the two cornerstones of that transaction, which sit the advertiser directly and then the publisher on the other end within digital.
So let's play a little thought exercise. Let's say the 7 of us have just started a great new company. We've been given 50 million euros. See, I'm sensitive to that. 50 million euros, location specific, to spend on launching a product. How has the answer to that, how should we do that? How has the answer to that changed in the last 5 years? Start with the agency guy.
So the answer to that is, I think that, for one, we can be much more accurate about understanding exactly who our consumer is. So when we actually start with a product, as long as we can are very clear about the kind of person that we want to reach, the kind of person we think is going to be the most valuable customer for us, for whom our product actually can deliver some real value, we can be much more accurate. One, about understanding who they are, what they do, and we can be much more laser focused about reaching them in the right environment, not just in terms of a media environment, but in terms of their physical context. The critical point then, though, where data, and if you like, is a combination not just of data planning, but it is also content planning, is that in the world of algorithms, in the world of targeting, in the world of data and technology, the effect that we have as people is still around content, the creative, the idea. And it's about being able to harness data, not just to be most efficient there, but to also inform and deliver insight in the actual messaging, in the experiences that we create to engage with people. And we mustn't ever forget that.
So we got at least 2 guys in the panel that would say, we know what a really efficient and effective marketplace looks like. It's called search. Why don't we just spend all the money in search?
Well, it's interesting because if you had asked me that question 3 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I would probably be able to spend your entire budget in search and be successful. I think that with my background, with the background of my company being starting with search, Performics was starting with affiliate, but moved into search business very soon, and acquired by Google. So we were very much into that space. I think that if you had asked me that question 3 years ago, I would have said definitely we can spend that money.
What about today?
And today, I think that things have changed dramatically. I think that attribution modeling, I think that overlaying data management, segmentation, cookie modeling is now the answer to the best scenario to attribute the best return on investment. We are a performance agency as well, just as Criteo. I think that our aim is conversion.
Don't you dare call me an agency. Whatever you do.
But in the end, though, if I may be so bold, you couldn't spend the whole 50 million on search, because search has got to drive you to somewhere. So you actually got to create assets. You've got to create experiences for the consumer.
Absolutely.
And we mustn't forget, whether it's data overlaying, contextual targeting, all those things, those are still just better ways of getting it to the right.
You're right.
I would say that most big companies today, they're after growth, right? And I think search and affiliate are great places to start. They're very efficient channels and the performance is there, but there tends to be a limit to the amount of scale you can drive through those types of channels. And so you've got to start looking at other channels. A lot of clients that we do business with, it's just that scenario exactly. They've maxed out what they think they can do in search, let's say SEM. It's either gotten too expensive or they've just got all the traffic they can from that channel. They've got to start making investments to figure out display, for example, as a channel. There's just
David, help Fred out.
Tremendous growth.
No, it goes back to the question you asked. You said, what would we do if we had 50 million euros for a new product? So I remember back to when Nintendo launched the Wii, And nobody could search for Weavy. It was WII. What would you search for? So search is we all know how effective search is in driving people down the funnel. But I think one of the things that we all need to look at, we have a very strong exposure here to performance side. I think as we build out the digital ecosystem, we also need to see how do we get people into the top of the funnel and provide something really, really compelling for them. Because the danger is that we go and spend that $50 million on television because we want to drive brand awareness, we want to have people aware of the product. So, and I think what's really changed in the last 5 years is we've got much more compelling stories.
Some might make the argument that although that might not reach your effectiveness goals, we could probably spend all of that over an extended 3-martini lunch. And I wouldn't have to incur a tremendous amount of agency or technology fee associated with that.
You would have significant amount of wastage. You don't have the targeting that Nigel was talking about available to you in that medium. I think what you're going to see is the television, offline and online, coming together.
Greg, I think you and Nicolle might have something to add.
I do, but today with attribution modeling, understanding the whole world of testing, with that kind of a budget, you should be able to go in and test the crap out of a number of different ideas. The point about top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel, there's room for Don Draper in 2013 and beyond. You need both. You can't live on performance without a brand. So a lot of us here are drafting off of some really great work that's been done on branding side and then feeding off of that. Performance without brand is a really treacherous road. I don't believe you can do that. I don't know brands that have just done it, started with a search campaign where no one knows about product effectiveness or utility. I think it's pretty hard. So you need art and science. You need both.
Got it. Nicolle, how should we spend our money?
Well, I'm leaning toward a combination of Greg and Damián over here. In that I agree with what you just said, Greg. Is that I think where we've fallen short in digital, if we're going to take an honest look in the mirror at ourselves as an industry, is that we went from creative to technology, and we sort of forgot the in between, which is that there's room for both. The beauty of digital, different than probably television, where you can get a tremendous amount of scale in television, but you can argue that the measurement of effectiveness might not be 100% there. Digital, you can get that measurement, but we forgot about the creativity that we can bring to digital, the way there's incredibly witty and creative television commercials. We did not bring that to digital. We fell very short over the years. Now, I think even technology companies like ours are realizing that. And the fact of the matter is you can have an effective campaign that reaches an advertiser's KPI and still have very engaging social, campaigns that, people can share and it can go viral and all of those things. And I think now, over the last 6 or 8 months, I'm seeing more of that online. And we're actually creating a conversation with audiences as opposed to thinking of them as transactions, and everything was about transactions. And now we're starting to talk about the story of the people that we're reaching online, which I think is the right conversation to have, because we already have the scale. Now we have to, I think, take a step back and talk about the story.
So my friend Terry Kawaja, whom I think we'll be hearing later today, is famous for putting together the Lumascapes that catalogs all the different ad technology companies. I think by the last count it's more than 260 companies and $6 billion invested in solving the inefficiency problem. So my question to you guys would be, surely not all of them are contributing in the same way. And if you looked at the ecosystem, assuming that you are in a company that should stay on the map, which is the categories of companies that should probably just go? They should just get out of the way because they're not adding the type of value that they ought to.
So do you want me to give you names?
No, you keep the categories.
Okay, so we'll do the names, but what every marketer needs to be able to establish today is an initial screening device on how to evaluate those companies. The noise in the marketplace with that Lumascape is so deafening and horrible, where everybody's number one, everybody's the best. Everybody else sucks except for my company. It's horrible. And if you go to a chief marketing officer and you talk with them delineating the best from the mid-level companies, is a very torturous task. So what I have been advocating is that every serious company needs to develop a scalable testing infrastructure to cull out what seems to be the best and brightest and to test the few to see if it works. Stop talking and show me. Plug my technology in and show me if it works. Right now, most companies do not have that testing infrastructure, but some of the leading companies are developing that right now. And if you could do that, I'd be able to, a lot of people would be able to answer that very, very good question that you just
very interesting. So we actually developed, about 2 years ago, we developed something called the convergence framework. And we looked at supply side factors and demand side factors that we could test any technology that came up. And on the supply side, it was, did it have the capacity to grow? Did it have speed, both in terms of its performance, but also speed to market? And then, most important, was it scalable? So, because there's a big difference between the capacity to grow and actually being scalable as a technology. And then on the demand side, it actually really wasn't anything about functionality. It was about ease, convenience, access. And it's interesting, when you look at the different technologies, and especially early stage, you're saying which ones are going to make it, which ones are not. You really have to do that testing to make it better.
Are there categories that stand out that are not going to
I think that at the moment, I wouldn't actually say it's so much the categories because it's so evolving, but it's very, very easy to spot the companies that can and can't make it. And then you have to put money behind those. And it's interesting, I think that you've actually filed for IPO today or yesterday, haven't you? I think
we did. I can't comment any further.
The point is, and again, that's going to cause that. One, that's a signal that you're scaling, and that scalability. So we got that one right to a certain extent. But also, it's the path for technology companies as they get there is quite lumpy. It's quite bumpy. There's different stages, and there are good things and bad things about doing what you're doing. But you have to get that in to go to the next level.
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies on the Lumascape are what I would consider features and not companies. If you're pressing for a category, I'll throw one at it, just to play ball with you. Tag management is one of those for me. I've yet to meet a tag management company that is really scaling and killing it, profitable. They need to diversify into other things, and maybe that's what they may be doing, looking to roll out things like attribution and data management services. If I was in that standalone company, that's the way I'd be thinking. But there's brands are taking some risk with some of these companies because they're putting a lot of control with companies that may not be in business a year from now. So I think what's happening is you've got a lot of the larger companies are trying to consolidate either through acquiring those companies or building some of those features themselves. But that's where
I'd imagine Damián would say we're building one system for you just use Google.
So is ValleyClick. So is ValleyClick and a number of other companies. I mean, truly we're putting together that end-to-end data strategy for our clients that includes tag management, data management, ad serving, DSP, attribution, right? And we feel that approach is better when you work with us for all of those things because of the tight integration of data, the way that, and if you run media with us as well, we're able to enhance that. But it's incumbent upon companies who are bringing tools and technology and a platform solution to the table to work and play nice with other endpoints, though. Like if you create a data segment with my platform, I have to be able to sync with other distribution points, another DSP to action on that data. And so a lot of pressure on companies like us to make those connection points seamless.
2 to 3 years ago, there was a strong debate at this forum about best of breed versus unified platform. Feedback I'm getting is that the unified platform approach, because of the efficiency and the fact that we need to unlock productivity that can then be invested in effectiveness, insight, data, etc. I think that is very clear, and there's a number of companies who are going down that road. So I think we'll have a vigorous competitive environment there, which is good. As new companies come up in the Lumascape, I think that they're either going to provide a service that has clear value and then ultimately get to IPO themselves and become a large player, or the value is going to go away and they're going to disappear, or they could potentially to your point, get acquired and like be brought into the broader stack. So I think the overall concept of unified platform, but people innovating outside of that eventually then come into that, I think that's the future.
I think the concept of the platform is an important one, and to your point, David, you call them features, point providers, whatever you want to call them. I think what's going to end up happening is that LumaScape is going to change over the next few years, and that the point solutions are going to become pieces of platforms. So I think there's going to be, that LumaScape is going to turn into fewer players that are platforms, and then the point providers that will plug into the platforms. And I think there's going to be different ways of implementation. One would be the way Google's doing it with their own proprietary, and then some will be a mix of proprietary and partnerships, which is more the tack that WPP is taking. And I'm not sure what ValueClick's taking, but that's where I think it's going to move, because it's not sustained
But so
to continue an industry this way.
If the future is that if we're going to have a handful as opposed to hundreds of platforms, isn't there tremendous switching costs associated from going one to the other?
Yes, and it creates one of the biggest barriers for people to make change. One line item that's left off of the LumaScape are the many advertising agency technology solutions, where they are both judge and jury of that world. Nigel comes from a company at Aegis that is agnostic, which is rare in this world. So I'd be interested in getting his point of view of why they've not played in that game, why they don't have a division that should be on the LumaScape. And it's a topic for a whole panel unto itself, being judge and jury at the ad agency level. Nigel, how would you answer that?
Well, I mean, I think that for all of us, whether you make your bet on your own technology or not, technology is still the core competence. And then I think that my own personal view is that for an agency and the agency business model, what we should be doing is looking to partner with the very best technologies and assemble them into the stack in the way that we want. And that's my long-term view, because fundamentally the technologies are changing so fast. The LumaScape in five years' time will be completely different, and we have to adapt with it. That's our view that we have, and other people have different views, and that's fine. But
you did acquire Bluestreak in the past.
We acquired Bluestreak. I was going to bring up, but actually we've made a bet on that, but we made a $15 million bet. Because it was one we felt very comfortable that we could, basically it was a 2-year test. We decided, and it was when we mapped it out in terms of what we thought it would cost us to actually make that sustainably a platform that would be best in breed. And we actually decided that we couldn't do that. And actually, the way that we saw technology going, we actually felt that even if we did, by the time we'd made it, what we thought was best in breed would be over there.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and being part of the Publicis group, we have exactly the same philosophy. So we play with the best industry players. We create our own layer of technology on top of those players, but we're totally agnostic as well. Just back to your question about who's going to be the next big thing, who's going to lose. I think that the one thing that we didn't mention here, I think it's kind of the holy grail. Obviously, it's being able to address cross-channel tracking, but also cross-device tracking. I think that mobile is obviously...
So speaking of which, why don't we do a closing round, and I'll bundle two questions and give each of you an opportunity to answer. And to riff off that, what is the first thing you need to do to stop doing as an industry? And then the second one is, let's end on an optimistic note. What do you think the biggest opportunities are? So with what you had in mind.
Well, clearly for me, the biggest opportunity at the moment is to crack attribution, deduplication across channels and device. I don't think that anyone is at this stage yet. I think Google has made a big leap in that area. honestly, but I don't think they're totally there.
And what should we stop doing?
Stop doing, well, so that's back to the question you asked before, who's going to lose in this market? I'll make a sort of a bold call on this, and I would say networks that don't have their exclusive inventory at hand, I think will be in a very difficult situation in the next years.
Nicole?
So what we're concentrating on, besides sort of the platform approach, and your judge and jury comment, I should address it since I'm part of WPP, is that I think that look, there's pros and cons to every business situation, and I would say that the scale and the efficiencies that come with a single platform and a large holding company greatly benefits its clients. And to not have that scale or those insights might, or I would say will pretty definitively mean different results if that platform didn't exist. And what WPP is doing is no different than any holding company. I think the difference is that some of the technology, not all of it, is proprietary. So I just wanted to say that. I think the combination of the creative and the technology, what I alluded to before, is going to be of increased importance over the next 12 to 24 months, because I think we're concentrating so much on technology. And
what should we stop doing?
And I think we should stop always running to the shiny toy, because I think that's what's creating the noise and why Windscape is getting more complicated every quarter as opposed to less, is that we as an industry are constantly running, and sometimes it feels like it doesn't matter whether the technology scales, or actually if there's a technology at all, which is amazing. Like, there's a PowerPoint deck and suddenly there's a technology behind it. And I think we're all guilty of that, of buying into that. And that we need to stop, because we're creating our own complicated, inefficient destiny.
Don't make it easy.
So, I go along with the attribution point that you just made. It's all going to come out in the wash. How much stuff is sold online, how much stuff is sold in-store, brand awareness, all of that stuff is going to come out. And we are early stages on understanding full attribution. Unless you don't have that compass pointed in the right direction, you can make a lot of really bad bets. So that's what I think we need as an industry to do a lot more of. What should we stop doing? Wow. As everybody was talking, there are lots of things. I don't have anything essential to bring to the party today in terms of what we should stop doing, but I'll send you an email later with a better thought out idea. But a lot of things we should stop.
Okay.
So in terms of what should we do, I agree very strongly on the full view around brand, on looking at users through the full user journey, getting digital much more plugged into that. That is going to require significant investment in attribution, in data. We're going to have to work out all of the privacy issues. We're going to have to have users see the benefits of advertising for them in the ecosystem. In order, the second part of my answer leads straight from the what should we stop doing. We have to get out of our own way in terms of the inefficiencies that are there. So, for example, if we can stop thinking in terms of features and products, we still have, marketers and agencies and other groups that have a search division and a display division, and it should not. They should. People need to work together.
Okay.
So related to some of the other commentary about what we should stop doing, to me it's pretty clear we need to stop planning for and spending millions of dollars without knowing truly whether or not that's going to cause sales to happen. And so a big part of that investment, if we're to start a company today, marketing any product, I think a big part of that investment is to be in the right people. Like, I'm talking statisticians, these are PhDs from Harvard Statistics, these are the people on our team, my guy, master's degree in operations research from MIT. But that's not enough. That's where you start. They really have to, kind of understand the application to our space a little bit, and work with vendors, or you can totally be managed in-house. But I think you need to truly understand how to track and measure your marketing spend cross-channels, cross-vendors, to know whether or not it is truly driving incremental sales. So stop planning for millions of dollars if you don't know what's going to, what kind of impact that's having on your business. In terms of what I think is the most opportunity, was that the second question, what am I most optimistic about? I think it has to do with personalization at scale. And a big part of that is some of the challenges that iOS and Firefox are threatening to cause just in terms of identifying people online. So there's some privacy things as an industry to figure out, but I'm very optimistic that our industry will be able to maintain a very deep profile on people over a persistent length of time. 13 months is kind of a benchmark for us. And being able to identify them on multiple devices. There's statistics actually being applied now by our company to do that. And that message that reaches that person, it's like, I saw a stat recently, it's over a third of TVs are smart, they're connected now. So when we talk about the addressable mediums, that's the way brands need to be thinking about it. People are on many different devices. I know a lot about them. A lot of our programs have 200 data points on a person. How do you use that to really personalize a message? I'm not just talking about a simple retargeting ad showing a product that they've looked at, but like really deeply connecting with them.
So, you went. So I think the big opportunity is the point of connection and engagement with the consumer, and the point of transaction is getting closer and closer together with media, through media. And it's the biggest opportunity for our entire industry, the entire value chain. We can screw it up. We've screwed it up before, but we actually absolutely have to make that work, and it's by really understanding it is actually a combination of data and a combination of the heart in terms of the content. And what we should stop doing, I agree, is stop chasing shiny objects in the next second life and rip out all the silos, join everything up together.
Great summary. Round of applause for the panelists.